So this is the bearded me. This is what you get. A lot of you, if you've watched my story, you're probably wondering what I'm going on about. Basically, I've come up with a pretty cool idea, and I think it'll work. And there's a few ideas all mixed up within it. So if you want to know what they are, then you can listen. If you think I'm nuts, you can turn it off. And yeah, whichever you want to do, that's where you go. So basically, it's my company glassshop.com.au, which is just there. I wonder if that'll be backwards or if it'll be the right way around. We'll find out. I've been working on it for 10 years with the vision to have a nationally recognised glass company that you can trust, that's honest, that is reliable, good customer service, gets the job done, doesn't try to rip you off, doesn't, you know what I mean? All that stuff. An old-fashioned glass shop that gets his stuff done to do with glass. And that has been the vision from the beginning. It's a hard slog as someone with kids and different family commitments and things like that. And as you might have noticed, sometimes my thinking can be like very focused onto one thing, and that's hard to it's hard to sometimes fit into like a normal kind of routine because of that. But there we go. But yeah, anyway, this has come up, this connection of things kind of, which is a hobby of mine, weirdly, is just connecting random things together and seeing how they play. But basically, there's some exciting new things. If you know about NFTs, then you know probably a little bit and you can probably follow along. If you don't, you might need to go look at that, find out about them. If you know about Bitcoin, things like that, that may lead over, it might not. Just follow along. If you've got any questions, you can always flick me a message or something like that, and I'll try and I'll do better ones. This is just off the top of my head. I thought I may as well do something. So we're going to use basically an NFT structure, and the reason that I'm talking about this right now, when none of this is done, is because that's one of the exciting things to do with this thing, this NFT thing. You can get on at any point, and basically right now, it's backed by my entire history of content that I have public in different ways. And the fact that I'm saying this right now out loud, that may sound crazy to you, and you may be like, he's a scammer, he's fucking he's slick and he's trying to scam me. And you'd be right, that would sound like that, and you'd also be wrong. That's not what this is. This is a new type of transaction, ownership, digital ownership, thing like that. That it's basically internet real estate is probably the best way to think about it in this context. And what you're going to be owning is the progression of this business idea from me saying it until it happening, like a story. You're kind of helping to write a story in the world, like a choose your own adventure type story. Isn't that going to be cool? Now, it will go depending on however. My plan is to, lead that through this early stage, and just basically put everything in it and try and establish the things that we're trying to establish. And I'm doing that anyway. So you're kind of, at the moment, you may say you're betting on a roughie, but I'm hoping that I'm going to change your mind on that. But it's real cheap in the beginning. You're just betting on a roughie. If she comes up, fuck me. And that's the power of NFTs. And that's why I'm going to very carefully arrange this. I have worked my fucking ass off for a long time, put more hours into thinking about this and planning this than you could ever imagine. I am not going to fuck this up. It is going to exist. It's going to happen. This is going to be the new way that glass is made, no matter what, by the end of this. Whether that's Glass Shop that does it or whether they're forced to do it, I don't care. But that's what's going to happen. So yeah, that's exciting. So I'd love to have you jump on board. Right now, the way you can help is to share this video, or you can send me a message anywhere that you can find me, and I'll put you on a list, and you'll be the first people that are contacted when we get to different stages, basically. But yeah, that's going to be exciting. If you have any questions about my directions or my thoughts or ethics or things like that, I'll be the best way to do that is I can't answer all those questions, but I can guarantee you that the reason this has taken so long is big to do with that, is getting sort of a clear plan that isn't airy-fairy and isn't greedy. It's somewhere, it's somewhere in the middle. And it just works in a way that is better. And I think that's what has excited me about some of the tech innovations. Some of them haven't, but just I think the concept of this idea is a powerful one, because it basically it says we as a collection of people have the power to change these things literally. They used to say it's like the way you help is by what you choose to buy. And that is so true, but it's been flipped into a thing that has brainwashed us into just more products. And why is it products? We only need so many things, and that is what we just look around everywhere. Everyone's stuff everywhere going into rubbish tips. Like, it is just stuff because we're sold stuff. Now, stuff's okay, but think about owning the production of the things that make the stuff. Think about how if you're not going to change the world by buying fluorescent light bulbs. It's not going to work. It doesn't happen. It's just, they're just like, here's another thing to just have you shush for a bit. Yeah, it's honest, and it's just another little thing to just slow it down, because there is so much money being made in all these different things and just extract it out. And this is a solution to that. It still works in that system, and it's not a communist-esque thing. It is a completely capitalistic endeavor to do this as a project. And that's why these things were invented. If you go back to the history of like a corporation or something like that, it was a lot to do with shipping. And shipping was dangerous. A lot of things could go wrong. So they'd get lots of people basically to all put into a ship, and then if it works, then you get a big payout and it works well. Shipping. And that makes sense. It wasn't to do with the production of things to sell to people and then convincing them that they need them. That is a period of time that we'll look back at and go, ooh, that was a real fucking doozy, where we were just sold everything from cigarettes to fucking vaccines to whatever we could listen to be sold at. And yeah, this company intends to target its customers are going to be the people that want to maybe pay at a higher end, but just have everything aligned, everything perfect. And that's worldwide. And there are so many of those people that when you get down to it, if you're paying an extra $100 on a project that you're working on, that your heart and soul is in, you're going to do that. And that is, again, it's such a beautiful way. We're like, instead of think of if you have a glass product that's made by this process that we're going to develop by doing this, you have a piece of the new existence, the new way things are going to be. And it's glass lasts forever. It's there. And that's what we kind of want to get to with our products. We're going to get to a point where this isn't just something you own that's a practical thing that does something. That these things used to be precious. If you had, that's the idea of an heirloom or something that's passed down through the family. And that's what you're going to own. You're going to own a piece of this transition, this early transition. And yes, it's an attacking move. It's a move to say, oh, we've had enough of the shit. Shut up with it. We're going to fix it. We're going to do it. And maybe the reason that I think that way is because I'm Australian. And that's to carve this country. And I know this is a very tricky transition for me to make because I come from both angles. I'm devastated by the fact that this country was basically deforested completely. I'm so torn between that and my knowing of farmers and how they are just the hardest working. They make things work. They literally carved this country out of the bush. And now I want to, within that, reawaken the farmer kind of instincts that are in there from this and take that land that we are just completely stripping bare of anything year after year after year after year and work on transitioning those farms and farmers into, if they want, this is, fuck me, there's just going to be opportunities there. This isn't, I'm not saying they're going to do this. They can make decisions about what they're doing with the land that they manage and how they do it. And we want to take that financial stranglehold, that this is the ideal vision in the future that they have right now from these companies that are buying the wheat. It's a complicated issue. It's like a debt accounts thing. It's very fucked up in most cases, or in other cases it's to do with sorry, I just got lost for a second. It's to do with the debtor and then buying ratio, and you're in a treadmill basically to just produce. And now they are just factories that spit out wheat, and whatever the things are, but we're just destroying these massive areas of land with different chemicals and things like that. And it's just, that is our lifeblood right there, and it's just being sucked out. And this is a way to still be producing. You're producing a primary product, cash product that's high value market worldwide. The same thing. It's a different, instead of wheat, you're making glass. Hopefully, let's get there. Let's see if it works and do it. But then so it's just the same. It's just machinery. You're putting things up. It's the same thing. It's maintaining things. It's the exact same process. And as a byproduct of that process, we can rehabilitate the land. And the way that we do that is just by fucking shading it. We just shade the land for a little while. We create environments underneath something or other that's going to come up later on about what we're going to do. You know what I mean? We plant trees, and these things, we purposefully design them to, as cells, rehabilitate an area, produce from that area. All it's taking is the sun. It's just taking the sun from that area. It's producing a product from this, and this is one of the cool things about glass as well, is a lot of the mining I think is quite, I'll honestly admit, this is something I haven't really looked much into, and I will look into it because it wasn't really important to do with the processing of where the big losses are. But basically it's sand, so it's already there, like it's on top. It's when you get to sand areas, they're already sand. It's like you can kind of take it either on one, if it's done properly. It's on the lower end of invasive mining things when you get down into the mining damage done by mining, which is something that, you know, hopefully there's millions of projects to do things like this. But this, so we're just taking sand, heating it up, just there. We're not taking anything from this area. We're leaving it way better if we choose to leave it, which that's one of the cool things. Like there's so much land that needs this done. That you're just moving these things, and then we end up at a point where maybe we make lots of glass, like lots of it, and we get to a point, maybe a balancing point, God help us, like hopefully, which is more than likely if you get into a lot of scientific things, we can settle this down to manageable. It's not going to be the end of the world. It's not going to be this chaotic end. We can just settle it. We just work it out. These things, one by one, we figure out the things that are aggravating our brains and bodies into this hyper vigilant, hyper extensive warring concept. You know what I mean? And we find like abundance, having lots of things around. That's a really safe place to be. When you're in a safe place, lots of things translate through that. Lots of good. It's how we're meant to be. We're not meant to be in this fucking chaotic, buzzing mess of consumerism and things like that. And as we get into the technology world, that's going to fall away. Most people get more entertainment from this little square thing that sits in front of them. And it used to take so many things to do that. And we haven't quite realized that. And it's the same with work. A lot of people are working from home now. We don't need these office buildings with work. Like these we're already seeing the slide back from technology. It's just that there's certain interests that want to keep this machine running at high voltage that spits money at one end. And those people are just basically getting to positions of power and saying, fuck, and just mixing things up to keep pressure there so that the machine keeps running. The machine runs on our stress to compete, on the stress to whatever. That's how it runs. This is an experiment in a concept of collected ownership in a particular thing. It's a new type of business model. It's a new type of technology. It's a new concept. But all the concepts within it work. They're all proven working mechanisms. When people, and that's what a business is, it's a machine. It has parts you put in and out, and at the end, you want to make profit, and that's what it does. Now, we need to build better machines, okay? These profit machines, they're really okay at making profit, but they're leaky. They leak all the way, they're inefficient, they're terribly designed. They're all combined different bits and pieces, and they don't work the way it just, yeah. And that's to do with the fact that these are tiny, there's multiple markets within it. So they're trying to sell you like, oh, this is this business, this makes this does this, and then you get in there, and then you slot in there, and like this does this, and this does this. But the whole process can be one entire process. Like, oh, okay, we make, off to the side, just off to the side. We do the same thing, we just do it differently. It's the same. And that's the decision that you make as a customer. You go, fuck, my window's broken, and everything gets laid out for you. So it's like, how much is the cost of the glass that you're buying? How much is the labor to the person? How much of that labor goes to that person? That's all mapped out, clear as day, right there. And you know that all the profits that go to the glass section of that are all going into eventually producing this concept of turning the sunlight into glass. And that's a beautiful thing. The person, as a glazier for a long time, 18, 19, 20, I don't even know how, it's a long fucking time. Sorry, I swore. It's a job. It's a very physical. It takes a lot of skill. It takes a lot of care. It's very diverse, believe it or not. There's like a lot of different things you have to kind of know to be able to do this, and it takes years. It takes years to get good at that, and that is it's just a very particular thing. To like an apprenticeship doesn't really for you to cover the entirety of glass and things like that, and the things you may be asked to do. An apprenticeship is nothing. It's absolutely nothing. And so this is what leaves you, unless you're just doing one thing, like maybe just fixing windows. But a lot of the glass work now is getting so diverse. You're covering so much ground. And that's exciting as a tradesman. But for me to do those things, the amount of time, like everything is a custom kind of one of a kind thing that you're making, and you have to learn how to do it and take it to time and do all those things. And that, as a tradesman, is exciting, and that's where we want to go. We want to have our tradesmen be the best that there can be in a diverse range of skills. So they have the option, if they want to stay with us, which they'll be well looked after, or if they want to move on into some side thing. They have such a large range of skills that translate into so many different things, and hopefully they start something that's groundbreaking, and they'll be paid well enough, and it'll be crystal clear about where that all goes, how much of the money is going to that person, that you'll know that they have enough of life kind of freedom to put those skills into what they want to do. Because a lot of time, this is talking from experience, I spend all this time learning these things and doing all this stuff, And different periods, it gets really hard to just kind of do that for myself. And it's not to do with my skills or the materials or anything like it's just plain to do with time, because it's hard. It's hard to do all that. Extremely hard. Because when you go and do those things, you're not supported by a network of different things. You're on your own floating around doing this stuff. And that's what I want to create, is basically a big network of things where our guys can go and do those jobs that are out of the ordinary, interesting jobs, creative jobs, whatever they end up being. The real reason that they exist is to do things like that. This is where a lot of people, or the people that we want, they shine in those areas. And we have a support network providing a way for them to do that. And we take all the pressure of the ordering and things like that away, so you can just concentrate on doing what you're doing. And that's a beautiful thing when those things are organized properly. At the moment, it's not working like that. There's the industry it's broken. And this is a initiative to fix it. And basically it ends up, it's like, this isn't a criticism basically of anyone who's in this. I understand you've developed these things, and you're on that. That's great. You're within that, doing that in the way, but you've been working on a machine that can be a lot better. So this is an idea to get to there. So if you're basically well entrenched into that industry, you don't want to look at this as a threat or as a competition. This is a way to jump on, and there'll be, that will be a huge option that'll be available. You can just jump on this train. You're already well in the thing, or like these machines and experience and people and all this stuff, this thing you've been building with all your effort, that's all the stuff we need. So you can just buy into that, and you are part of this as well. And that's an amazing thing, because that sorts out, it's like, because otherwise where are we going? If the world comes crashing down, or, if we don't start fucking actually fixing this shit, you're all going to be dead. Or, you know what I mean? Your children are going to be in a terrible place. This is not good. Like, we need to kind of turn this thing around, not dramatically, just start leaning it that way. Let's just start going that way. Let's stop fucking plowing into the fucking rock and go, hey, let's just turn. We've got fucking ages. We've got plenty of time. We've got more equipment, knowledge, information than you could ever imagine on how to just fucking sort this whole thing out. Just fix it. You know what I mean? Key areas that just need sorting. And this is a way to do it while maintaining, you know what I mean? If you get into this model and you're a glass, you've made your fortune off glass, and you jump on this model, you're still within the same realm. You know what I mean? The old real estate thing, you buy and sell in the same market. It's like, this is the shit to be on. And that's going to become more and more clear. And so there's no real reason to be attacking and, worried about these things. This is what all your PR has been saying you're trying to do. Isn't that great? I thought so as well. Anyway, I'm so glad, if you've got to this point, I'm so glad. I wonder what this sounds like. Probably sounds crazy, but that's okay. Ruffy, remember? You're betting on a Ruffy. So let's go forward with this, and let's see where she goes.